television. And I thought, what will happen when an event like that happens in my city, in Newport News, in Hampton, in our region? It's bound to happen at some point. And where's the church in this? Do we have a voice? Do we even know each other well enough to have a conversation about it? And I realized that a lot of the churches, the pastors, the church people don't even know each other, don't speak. And particularly across racial lines, I would see in our city. And so we just started to have a dialogue, a conversation, to try to first just get pastors together, just to get to know each other, to maybe go out to lunch with each other, maybe share some ministries with each other, but talk about things that are really important, things like racism, things like poverty, like crime, things that affect our cities. And so we began this conversation over lunch, just invited pastors in. And one thing led to another. And now we have a group of people, 50 or more people that gather once a month. It's no longer just pastors. Now it's pastors and police officers. We've had a mayor. We've had city council members. We've had a Commonwealth Attorney Office. We've had folks from the cities of Hampton and Newport News, people that work in things like youth violence and things like that, who care about their city the way we care about our city. And so the conversation is broadened out now. And we're about the kingdom. We're churches. We can't fix all the city's problems, but we really believe that God has put us here to advance His kingdom in this place. And we can't do that unless the churches are working together, unless the pastors are in conversation, unless we see this city as our mission field. And so that's what kind of began this dialogue, this conversation, and a lot of great stuff has come out of it. A lot of partnerships with the cities, a lot of just partnerships with the police department and doing things with them and helping them with their commitment to community policing and supporting what they're doing. And again, pastors getting to know pastors. I think that's important. One of the things when we first started the dialogue was we had a homework assignment. Before you leave here today, make a lunch appointment with somebody that doesn't look like you. And then after we did that 2 or 3 times, I started hearing stories back. Hey, I went out to lunch with this pastor. You know what? We got the same problems they do in our church and they have in their church. And now we've become friends. And our 2 churches are going to get together and we're going to do a vacation Bible school together or some event because we both are in the same community and we both care about the same stuff.
Let me just start by saying 6 Mount Zion's in the house.
Amen.
I love being in their presence. And Gabe and the worship team from Ivy. I tell you what, I wish I had time just to brag on PBA churches, but we ain't got time for that tonight. We're going to talk about some other stuff. And some of you might be saying, why this racial stuff now? Many church folks don't see this as their issue. There probably was even some conversation, do we put it on the program tonight? Some topics are best left alone, aren't they? But that's not the nature of the BGAV.
Amen.
This body always tackles the tough topics with love and with grace. And for that, I thank you guys, and I thank you for letting us be here. It's a tough conversation, but it's one that needs to be had. I'm just appreciate the opportunity for us to have a little bit of our story tonight. I appreciate Nathan White, who came down and spent a day with us and did some video and tried his best to make me look good on the video. He did his best, but he only had so much to work with. But just appreciate his time and coming and just sharing with us about this. And there's a lot I could talk about. I'm not going to talk very long at all. In fact, I would ask Jerome and Rusty to come on up and get behind me for here in just a minute. But let me just tell you a couple of things that have come out of this conversation that we started. And to be honest with you, Freddie Villarreal, who's going to be out here in a little bit, was one of the people that stirred it in me back when Ferguson was happening. And I saw him and he said, what are we going to do? And then when we started this conversation, 2 of the first pastors that literally said to me, we've got your back. Well, that guy and that guy. And I appreciate it.
Amen.
But out of this conversation has come some great things. I'm just going to mention a few. I wish Charles Cheek would be here tonight. Charles is at a what's called Jobs for Life training event. It was important that he be there. Charles is the catalyst behind so much of what's going on. Jobs for Life is one of the things we've begun. And churches throughout this region now are training people to enter the job force. People who haven't ever worked or haven't worked in a long time. Some of them are homeless. Some of them have been incarcerated, and they get training to be ready, prepared to take care of themselves and prepare and provide for their family. And that's one of the things that's come out of these conversations. Another one of the people that's been coming to our dialogue for a couple of years is Cynthia White, who's the Youth Violence Prevention Manager for Hampton. And she approached us and said, we're doing this thing called Urgency for Now. We've been doing it a couple of years in Hampton. We need a faith-based presence at our city event.
Amen.
Who does that?
Amen.
We have this narrative in the church that the cities don't want the church. They're begging for the church.
Amen.
So Cynthia came to the faith-based community and said, can you help us put on this event? We'll be doing it where you're going to be tomorrow, and it's all paid for. You just come and give it a faith dynamic. Then this last summer, the Commonwealth's Attorney Office in Hampton approached us because they come to our dialogues. And they said, we want to do some things in the communities this summer. We're going to call them summer explosions. We want to get together, have fun stuff for the kids to do, and informative stuff for parents. Can the churches help us do this? And churches throughout Hampton, many of our PBA churches, BGAV churches stepped up, partnered with other churches, and put on these events throughout the city. This is because of a conversation. And then the one that's coming up is a story we're going to be telling later, but I'll just give you a heads up. There's an old skating rink in one of the really depressed parts of Hampton that's been sitting empty. A guy has bought it, and he's got a vision for turning it into a community center. And Charles approached him because he knows him and said, would you be willing to allow a church to be planted in this new skateplex that you're doing? And the guy said, that's exactly what we're doing this for, is to be able to impact the community. This is going to be a fresh expressions, good news stories. Gannon's in the house, I saw him come in. Okay, this is going to be a story. Great things are happening. But instead of me talking, we've got about 5-6 minutes left. I wanted these two guys. This is Rusty Beck, pastor of Parkview Baptist Church, and this is Jerome Barber, pastor of Six Mile Zion Baptist Temple. And they just did something unique. And this is the kind of thing that God is doing in our area. So I just want them to take these few minutes and just share what God's doing, has just done with them.
Amen. Thank God for a gift of life called Chuck Harrison. And, one of those, I guess, when you sometimes the church needs a little motivation. I think they call them cattle prods. So he's about as gentle as a cattle prod. And, it reminds me of when I was growing up and my brother would be fighting and tussling. So my mother would say, y'all hug each other until you like each other. So that's kind of some of the sessions that Chuck has put us through. He gave you the clean version, but he's forced us in, and it's a great thing. It's time for it, and it's been a tremendous blessing. We have something called a Halloween celebration. It's an alternative for Halloween for our kids, and we've been doing our little thing in our little corner for a long time, and so we had a meeting where Chuck called all the African-American pastors in from the Peninsula Baptist Association and said, look, what do y'all need from us? And basically one of the things came out, so just let us know when we're doing things. There's no sense in reinventing the wheel. And I believe that, when you put two strong elements together, chemistry calls it spontaneous combustion. So this last Halloween, found out what Brother Rusty was doing. I said, well, look, we're just going to come on over and we're just going to see what happens, and Rusty's going to tell you what happened.
All right. There is beauty in diversity, I can tell you. We do what probably a lot of you churches do. We do what we call trunk or treat. Basically, we decorate our cars. And when we first started talking about doing this, we had some people come to us and say, well, maybe we should decorate all the cars. with Bible themes. I said, no, let's just have pumpkins and skeletons. It'll be okay. So I got a call from Brother Jerome, and he said, hey, we want to just partner with you guys. Now, our church is in an area where we've been doing this for a long time. It's a great alternative to be a safe place for kids to come and kind of hang out. We kind of keep an eye on things there in the parking lot. The Peninsula Baptist Association has a fun trailer with some inflatable things. We brought them out there, and we did some hot dogs and stuff. And then Pastor Barber and his church kind of showed up, and man, it was incredible. I think we had probably 400 kids come through our little area there. But when something as simple as what we did there, we don't have to overcomplicate this. Loving people like Jesus loved people can be very simple. And when he tells us that we are to love one another, and that's how the rest of the world will know that we're his disciples, if we love one another as he loved us. And that's basically what we did. But what we're excited about, what Brother Jerome and I are excited about, is that we know that this is the first step into doing some other things together. And this was something simple, and it worked, and to God be the glory.
It's that easy. I mean, there's nothing to it. But significant things happen when God's people come. And I believe God blesses us in a unique way when we come together across barriers. And so I thank these guys, and Jerome's going to kind of lead us in prayer. I think we're going to lead back into some worship now. But I appreciate what these guys have done and what other churches in this area are doing. Because God's doing some great things here because his people are coming together. Jerome?